Let's dive straight into the numbers. 6,355. That is the exact volume of new zero-emission heavy-duty vehicles registered across the European Union in just the first quarter of 2026 alone.
Welcome to this exclusive Red Apple Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the Q1 2026 European heavy-duty vehicle market to unpack the zero-emission shifts and manufacturer movements that actively impact your fleet and investment strategies. The landscape is transforming fast, so let's get right to it.
Here is our agenda for today. We have a Q1 2026 market overview, heavy trucks rapid growth, medium trucks and vans, buses electrification leaders, OEM market share shifts, and finally, policy impact and targets.
Section 1. Q1 2026 Market Overview. Let's look at the macro data.
The overall heavy-duty vehicle market didn't just grow, it surged. We are looking at a jump of almost 20% year-over-year, hitting roughly 92,400 units. A rising tide lifts all boats, and this robust foundation really sets the stage for the massive zero-emission shifts we are about to uncover.
Section 2. Heavy trucks rapid growth. We are talking specifically about vehicles over 12 tons.
The momentum right here is absolutely undeniable. Zero-emission heavy truck volumes nearly doubled in just a single year. They climbed from 900 units in Q1 2025 to 1,600 units in Q1 2026, firmly securing a 2.3% market share.
Notice exactly where this spike happens. This was not some spontaneous industry awakening. The introduction of the first 15% CO2 reduction target in Q3 2025 served as a massive catalyst. The data proves it. When regulatory targets hit, manufacturers deliver.
Looking geographically, the Netherlands confidently led the pack with 338 sales, but keep a close eye on Austria. They emerged as a huge late accelerator, jumping from a 1.9% to an 8.0% share in 1 year. That kind of rapid, localized adoption is exactly what we need to watch.
Section 3. Medium trucks and vans. This covers freight vehicles ranging from 3.5 to 12 tons. Growth here is still strong, passing 2,000 unit sales and nearing a 20% total share. However, if we look closely, we are actually seeing a deceleration from those explosive year-over-year doubling rates we saw between 2022 and 2025.
So there is a clear plateauing effect happening in the medium truck space. Why is that? Well, manufacturers are currently prioritizing their heavy trucks to ensure they hit CO2 compliance. Underneath that umbrella, though, the electric van sector remains highly concentrated and drives the bulk of the volume in this category.
The real key for your regional strategy is understanding localized policy. The Netherlands absolutely dominates this segment, with a nearly 69% share. That is no coincidence. It is directly driven by zero-emission city entry requirements introduced across 15 Dutch cities early last year. Plus, Mercedes, Iveco, and Ford are capturing roughly 70% of this total pie.
Section 4. Buses electrification leaders. This represents our most mature market segment.
This segment continues its robust leadership, climbing from 1,900 to 2,700 zero-emission units sold. They have now successfully captured almost a quarter of the entire bus market.
The main takeaway here is how reliable this transition has become. This steady upward climb is heavily driven by public procurement mandates across member states. It offers us a crystal-clear preview of what the wider heavy freight market will look like in just a few short years.
But beneath those top-level numbers, the competitive landscape is shifting drastically. In a surprising turn, Chinese brands like Yutong have now actually outpaid established European legacy manufacturers in zero-emission sales shares. With BYD and King Long also sitting in the top 8, the pressure on domestic brands is immense. Section 5. OEM market shifts. Let's dig into these manufacturer transitions. Drilling down into the total market numbers, Mercedes and MAN made the most significant competitive inroads this quarter. On the flip side of that coin, brands like Iveco and Volvo faced measurable contractions in their overall market share.
From an investor perspective, it is vital to contextualize these wins and losses. This transition is incredibly expensive. Financial reports from Q1 show major OEMs actively sacrificing profit margins to absorb heavy transformation and EV development costs. Basically, building the future of freight requires immense capital today.
Section 6. Policy impact and targets. This is the regulatory leverage actually driving the market.
By mapping out these incentives chronologically, the cause and effect becomes completely obvious. Remember Austria's explosive growth earlier? It directly mirrors their aggressive 2024 and 2025 policy levers. Policy dictates pace. And with France enacting massive heavy truck subsidies in June 2026, we have a very strong indicator of exactly where the next localized volume surge is going to hit.
Looking slightly further ahead, the second phase of the Clean Vehicle Directive acts as our definitive roadmap. This legislation legally cements a 90% zero-emission urban bus mandate by the end of this decade, and it escalates to a 100% requirement by 2035.
Which leaves us with a massive strategic hurdle. 90% of the urban bus market is fundamentally locked into zero emission by 2030, and heavy freight is accelerating right behind it.
So ask yourself, how aggressively must you pivot your investments and supply chains right now to stay ahead of the curve? It is a fascinating challenge, and the data shows exactly who is adapting the fastest. Full data set and methodology available on request. Contact Red Apple.